My lords, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to episode 5 of the Transport Fever 2 series on the Deluxe DLC add-on. DLC, yes, that's what it is, it's a DLC, so the Deluxe DLC, the Deluxe Edition DLC. Well, that was a mess, wasn't it? Anyway, we're in Haywood today, starting out in Haywood, and you may have noticed in episode 4, and also in this one, is the backing soundtrack has changed to a more country and western themed bit of music. I thought that might fit in quite nicely with the style and the aesthetic that we're going for in this series. However, if you prefer the more classical backing music to the series, then obviously let me know your thoughts on that. It's just something I wanted to try, but I'm happy to revert back if the popular opinion is that the classical music makes a better fit. But yeah, something I wanted to try, so let me know your thoughts on the change in background music, and we'll decide what to do based on the feedback, of course. So yes, we're in Haywood, and what we're going to do today is expand outwards and head up towards the city of Knoxville. At the end of episode 4, I talked about having certain cities designated as our major cities, and I think Knoxville is one of those cities I'd like to designate. And the plan is, these major cities will really focus on growing them as large as we possibly can, trying to meet as high demand satisfaction as we can to encourage that growth. And those cities, the train stations in those cities, will be our larger train stations. They'll house our main lines and express lines, and they'll also have lines going to the nearby smaller cities that will keep artificially small by maybe not meeting the demand as much as we possibly can. And that's a beautiful shot of the brick delivery train just pulling up there. It's a Eureka American 440 as she unloads her bricks for consumption in Haywood. So let's bring up the user interface then. So 20 million in the bank, 2 million cash flow, and we're in April of 1877. So let's have a look as to where we are. So Knoxville is up here. So because I want to keep everything interconnected, we would have to lay a line from Haywood up into Knoxville, so it's all part of the one network, and we've got that natural growth and expansion. And if we take a look at Knoxville, we can see they require machines and food as their initial commodities for growth. We have machines nearby, which we would just ship in by some trucks. There's no point having a rail line from here to here, that would be silly. And we could supply the steel over the road network as well, because that's fairly close by. We could supply the coal into the steel mill over road as well, rather than a train line, because again, that would be silly. The iron we would have to bring in on some rails, so we would need some cargo lines in and around here. The planks, we have a sawmill just here outside of Memphis, and again we'd have to do that via rail, so there'd be a train line down here. The food, arguably we could get away with using trucks to deliver food. It's not too far, and certainly as we get into the later game and we get the more modern, more powerful trucks, then that should be very easy for them to handle. Likewise, getting grain from here to here, a train would probably not make too much sense. We're trying to go for a more long haul freight setup in this one, and from there to there I think we'd probably do with trucks as well. So in this area we would have a lot of trucking lines. We'd have some passenger lines, of course. I mean, this machinery factory, it doesn't just have to supply Knoxville, but if we look, we have Clarksville up here, and even Haywood itself, sorry, New Haven and Haywood, both of them both need machinery as well, and it would have to be brought in on rails as well. So a nice bit of a variety in this area with both a lot of truck lines and rail lines, and of course we'd have our passenger line from Knoxville down into Haywood and possibly into New Haven as well. So we'd have a nice bit of variety. Now what I would like to do in Knoxville is similar to what we've done down here in Haywood and in New Haven, and that's have our train station pretty central in the middle of Knoxville, rather than having it on the outskirts as I have done in previous playthroughs. So to that end, what I'm going to do is just demolish some of this here to make space for a train station. So if we clear ourselves a nice area like that and just pause it so they don't keep rebuilding while we're trying to achieve this, go to our train station. So we'll start off and it'll be a passenger station initially, and I think we'll go for 5 platforms, and we'll keep it, or we'll go for the maximum length on this one, 320 meters. That way we can accommodate the larger trains that we're going to get as we progress through the eras. And if we put our station somewhere like that, what we want to do with this station as well is increase it to include the cargo platforms. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, as we know, Knoxville eventually will require 4 commodities to meet that growth. Now, 2 of them, as I've just said, we will bring in over some road networks, so some road delivery lines. So therefore we only need 2 cargo platforms here. Then that'll be for whichever 2 commodities they start to demand later on as they grow. The first 2, as I said, we're going to bring in via some trucks, so we don't need a full 4 platform in terms of cargo down here, just 2 is going to be enough. What we're going to do first then is get a passenger line linked from Knoxville down into Haywood. So let's get our track laying tool, and before we do anything else, what I'd like to do is just run each of these tracks out from the platforms, and this means if they start to, or when they start to expand their city, we've already laid claim to the land in and around our station, so we don't have to do too much demolition work in the future, because we already own the land around here. Of course there's a high chance that they're going to build level crossings over all of this, but that's fine. As long as we've got space to put in any diamonds and the likes, then yeah, we're good. And we're going to do the same coming out this way as well. Let's just have a look, which way are we going to be heading from Knoxville? Well, we'd want to line over to Clarksville and maybe over to Irving as well. And which would be the best way? Well, Irving would be this way, but Clarksville we might be better off coming this way and down there. So therefore I'm going to have all these lines head this way at a slight curve, with a view to that we want to avoid this mesa right here. So let's do that, and again this is going to cause quite a bit of demolition and disruption in Knoxville, but that's the way it has to be. They can always rebuild, and they will rebuild. Okay, too much slope. Where is the slope issue? Is it? I don't think it's being caused by that. I think it's this road here that is causing the problems. Yes, too much slope on that road. Okay then, so we're going to have to demolish that road. Again, if they rebuild, or when they rebuild, at least we've laid our claim to the land in the area, so what they do in and around that is up to them. Again, it looks like we'll have to get rid of this road here, so quite extensive demolition here going on, but that's fine, it is what it is. What speed is that? 75. So if we bring all these together, we can then sort out any crossings and junctions that we need a little bit later on, and because everything's all up against each other already, then we don't have to worry about what they're going to do or what their designs are for their city, because, well, as I've just said many times now, we've already got access to the land and we've got nice terrain to work with. So let's bring all of these out. That's a bit slow. Can we get that a bit faster? Maybe 50 as a minimum. Yeah, there we go. And out to there. And let's just run them all out as far as here. There we go. And now they can rebuild and do whatever they need to do. What I'm going to do at this point is just smooth off the terrain in around here. So if they do start building level crossings over our train lines, they should be nice and flat and level and not cause too much ugliness to our train lines, which I don't think they would anyway, but just to make sure, we'll make sure everything's nice and flat in the area. There we go. Now we can resume it. So as we can see, there's actually no connections between the eastern and western side of Knoxville at the moment, but we can help them out with that, can't we? We can just give them a road. Perhaps, can we do that? Yeah, we can, look at that. And we don't have to remove any more buildings. And that just gives us one big long level crossing rather than having separate level crossings within a short space like we have over in, what city is it? It's in New Haven, isn't it, where we've got that sort of thing going off. And what the heck, we may as well give them a level crossing here as well. And that's going to be multiple level crossings, is it? No, it's all, you know, we've got one, and then, yeah, we've got 2 level crosses there, 2 separate ones. But it's better than having 5 or 6 separate level crossings. That just looks a little bit strange. So let's just get all this nice and straight. There we go. Now they can build in and around this area without too much trouble. Okay then, so now, like I said, we want to get a passenger line from Knoxville over to our existing network in and around Haywood and New Haven. In fact, change my mind about this bit here. I want to do what I did on the opposite side, where everything comes together nice and early. So let's go and just delete all this here, these tracks here. And what we'll do, like we did on the northern side, is just bring them all parallel with one another. I mean, they were parallel, but you know, touching and parallel like this. Okay, that's better, yeah, but I think I prefer that, having them all come together as one big set of tracks. Okay, now we'll rebuild that road that we had to get rid of to accommodate this. And we'll put the road somewhere like that. And that then gives us, that's all one level crossing. Perfect. Let's just upgrade that road for them. And now they can start to rebuild and do whatever they want. So let's resume the calendar, or resume the game, so they're free to start rebuilding and reworking their city after we've just done some major renovations in and around here. Right, so yes, we want one of these platforms to head out to Haywood and to New Haven. And which one do we want to use? Well, I think we'll use platform... No, we may as well use platform number 1. Why not? So let's head down this way. And we want to keep this... We'll keep it at this... we'll maintain its current gradient. The land is pretty flat in and around here. There are some hills and tunnels that we're going to need to construct, but that's fine. Well, we're not going to construct the hill, but we're going to have a tunnel through the hills, of course. And what we're going to do is we're going to head down here, past this mesa, and then down in towards Haywood down there. Now the terrain here is quite hilly, as we can see, so this is where we're going to start to encounter the tunnels and the likes, but that's not a problem. The occasional tunnel is absolutely fine. 800,000 for that, not too bad. But from here on out we shouldn't need any tunnels, and we'll keep our tracks as straight as we possibly can. I mean, we've got nice open areas to work with, so there's no point having them curve and twist unnecessarily. Of course, there are places like here where they're going to have to curve, but for the most part I think we can keep them reasonably straight. Okay, so yep, coming down nicely, heading towards Haywood, and I think we'll come... Okay, we're going to come that way. So we're curving, but it's a quite a wide curve, isn't it? So it's straight enough, because we want to make sure we come at a decent angle so we can join into our existing network without having too sharp of a curve here. That way we can make sure we've got 75 miles an hour, nice high speeds throughout all of this. Just go back and check, yep, 75. Now this is where we're going to have to sacrifice a bit of speed. That's probably sacrificing... No, 46 isn't too bad. Because at this point we're in and around stations anyway. So our trains will either be slowing down as they approach the station, or they'll be at slow speed as they're just departing the station up to full acceleration. So we'll take this and we'll cross it over all the way. That way we can utilise any of these 3 platforms if we want to, by just making these into double slip switches like that. So we can use platform 1, 2 or 3 at this point, and we have full access to all of them. Let's just take, well, we can't take that road back, but what we can do is if we give them, we don't want to upgrade, a little node there, we can then delete that without deleting too much. There we go. So before we do anything else, let's just run the smoothing tool along this new train line. That way everything blends in nicely and it isn't too ugly and too dramatic and too sudden of an angle. So some could see this sort of thing as a pretty unnecessary expense, and yeah, it is unnecessary, it doesn't make any difference, but visually it looks a lot better when the terrain blends in a lot more smoothly and naturally. So I don't mind paying I mean, we are on easy mode as well, so I don't mind paying a little bit extra for all of this. And we have the money available to back all this up, so that's fine. Anyway, there we go. So now what we want to do is include a few passing loops on this new stretch of track that we've just created. So let's have a passing loop here. And we want to make sure these are 75 miles per hour because we want our passenger lines and our passenger trains to be going as fast as they possibly can. So this sort of distance should be fine. And there's 75 miles per hour, so let's just connect those together. And there's one. We have the tunnel here, so we're not going to do one inside the tunnel, but we can do one on this nice straight bit of track that we have here as we come out of the tunnel. So again, aiming for that 75 mile per hour speed at all points. And then if we can have this one come in just after that curve, 75, perfect. And then join in like that. And then we'll have another, we'll probably get an elongated passing loop on this bit here. And again, aiming for that magic 75 here. So like I said, we'll have quite an elongated one at this point. Get that 75. Bring them back together. And then we'll probably do one. Or we'll have one here just as they approach the junction. And this is just to make sure our trains have somewhere to wait if they have to wait to get access to the station, and they don't have to wait too far away from said station. Whoops, let's do it that way. 65, no, I want it to be faster than that. Come on, let's get that 75, there it is. There we go, and that should do us, I think. So let's get the signals on these passing loops so we know which way we're going and everything is working as it should. I think we can have a midpoint block on this one here, so we'll put one in like that. These should be one way, of course. So let's just quickly change all of those. There we go. On this long one we can have another midpoint block as well. Make sure these are set to one way this time. So we want signal there. We'll put a midway signal around about there. Yeah, that's roughly halfway. It doesn't have to be exact, of course. Yeah, that's pretty good. All this is single track. Now we're back to passing loop. No midpoint block on this one. It's a bit too short for that. And then down here, I think again we probably can get away with a mid block on this one. Is that roughly halfway? Yeah, it's close enough. And that, okay, it doesn't give access to this side, but what we can do is we can give them access by running a platform along here. I know it's a cargo platform, but it doesn't really matter. And then off of that platform, putting down some station buildings. Can we get a big one in there? Yeah, we can, but it's going to look a bit strange, but it's fine. And we'll keep this as a small road almost like a side entrance to the station, or back entrance to the station. No, don't. There we go. Keep it straight. Ooh, no, it's gonna try and do strange things. Oh, there we go. That's it. That's not what we want. And then, as we can see, whoops, we've opened up a lot more access points to this station here, and we could probably do something similar down here. Actually, it will mean removing some of these residences, but such is life. That's progress for you. So let's return to the station configuration and give them, would that be too close? Let's go for a couple of smaller buildings down here, like that. And we'll do the same thing with just a small capacity road. In fact, no, you don't want to be coming there, you want to be... Yeah, those junctions are close together, but it's fine. Like that, and that should expand its coverage even further. Yeah, look at that, covering almost all of the city apart from these commercial buildings over here now. And what we'll do is, when we come to set up the public transport links inside of Knoxville, we'll make sure we have them around our main station building at this side, and then these two can really just be the side entrances for the station. Okay, so that's done. So what we can do now is actually set up a passenger line here. So we want to run from Knoxville, and we'll use a green colour for this one, and we're coming all the way down here into Haywood. Let's have you go onto a different platform in Haywood though. Let's go and put you onto platform number 2, and then if we wanted to, we could even have it come from Haywood over to New Haven, you see. Let's put it on platform 2 here. And then, yes, they can't. Oh, we could give them a connection here to here. So then they could go back from New Haven direct to Knoxville. But I think we'll just keep it as a point-to-point for now. We can always change it later on, of course. It's not like we're ruling anything out at this point. But just to get things up and running, I think that's how we'll have it, as a direct connection between Knoxville and Haywood. Let's rename the line. Line 1 is not good enough, so this is going to be RP, and this is Knoxville and then Haywood. Perfect. And I've just noticed I've been typing it as Haywood rather than Hayward. And it is Hayward. I'm sure you still pronounce it very similar. So let's just actually make sure all those line names are correct. Bonus points to you if you'd spotted this in the previous episodes. Well done, you. I'd only just noticed, and I think we've got everything. Oh no, there's one more there. And it's just something I'll have to keep an eye on in the future. There we go, that's better. Hayward. There we go. Right, so now we can buy a train for that new line. So because the Virginia and Truckee is the only locomotive we have that has a top speed of 50 miles per hour, we're going to use the Virginia and Truckee once again. We're then going to use a passenger car with clear story as our carriage, because that does 50 miles per hour. And we'll have 2 of those. And then we want to put a caboose on the back. So let's buy 2 of those trains, that's 6 million. So we'll be left with about 4 million after all is said and done. And let's put them on that line there. Okay, wonderful. So that should start attracting some passengers onto this new line. And now we can turn our attention back to Knoxville. So as I said, a lot of the industries around here can be handled via trucks rather than having to put in a load of train lines. And to that end, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a road connection from here into the road, and then set up a truck delivery line delivering grain over to here, and then a separate truck delivery line that picks up the food that is being created and dropped off into Knoxville. So what we want is a nice road connection between the farm and the food production facility. So let's get it something like that. Now we want to keep these roads as straight as we can, really. I mean, well, that's not straight at all. We can't really keep it straight here because the angle is, that way. But now we can go reasonably straight. Like that. Wonderful. And I'm tempted to even rework this road here and have it a little bit straighter. I mean, we are out in the American West, and famously a lot of the highways are very, very straight. And why wouldn't they be? They have the space to do it, so let's try and replicate that as best we can here. So yeah, we'll go for a much straighter one there as well. I mean, we could spend all day doing this, but we'll do them as and when we notice them, so that should be fine for now. So let's get ourselves a pickup station here. We only need one platform, and if we pop it over here, we have that connection, which is what we're looking for. How far away can we go before we lose that connection? Yeah, let's have it all the way back there, and we'll rename that from Clarksville South to the Clarksville Farms. Give it a second street access coming out of the opposite side, that way we can have our vehicles pass straight on through. And let's have it connecting like that and like that. Now there's a chance they'll want to loop around, so let's give them a waypoint there so they have to come out the opposite way. And they're coming all the way down here, and we want them to drop off the grain in and around here somewhere. So what we'll do is give them a street connection like that, a waypoint there. Then if we put a truck unload point there, we can make sure that they come this way around here and then back straight down here on the way back to the farm. So this is the sort of thing we have in mind, so we're going this way. Oh, what an idiot. New line. Yeah, we're coming here and then out that waypoint into there and that waypoint. I know they were going that way anyway, but we'll just make sure they never deviate from that in the future by just selecting the waypoint as well. So in terms of colour scheme, let's go for that one. That's pretty close to the colour of the food icon. At the grain farm, we want them to be fully loaded and wait as long as that needs. Picking up grain, and this is T, and this will be grain, and this is Clarksville to Knoxville. There we go. So we want a vehicle depot, and I'm going to put it this side because that way it can also serve the delivery line into Knoxville itself. So let's buy ourselves a big handful of vehicles for this, and we'll use this one here because this does accept grain. And how much would 50 set us back? 1.6 million, not too bad at all. Let's go for that using that colour scheme, and away they go. Perfect. So now we can do something similar from here into Knoxville. So what we'll do is, again, we'll just rework this road here to make it a little bit straighter. It's going to have to curve a little bit, but we don't want it twisted and curving any more than it arguably has to. So like that, that's fine. And then again, this bit here is probably too twisty, or more twisty than it needs to be. So let's do that, and then from here we should be able to get a pretty straight connection. There we go. Keep it nice and straight, nice and flat, and then it comes on in, and then as we come into the city we need a drop-off point for the food. And wrong menu, here we are. And oh, the food's all the way up here. Well, that's fine. If that's where it needs to go, then that's where it needs to go. Let's put a drop-off point, and we can set up this line then. In fact, no, we can't, because we need a pickup point down here, don't we, as well? So let's give them a way to pick up the food that's being created here. And we'll pop this again. If we put it here, we should have connection. Yeah, we do. Perfect. And again, configure this. We can't put. Okay, they're gonna have to loop around there then, which is unfortunate. But I'm not changing it just for the sake of that. and this is Knoxville Foods. So let's connect that in to our network like that, and then we can do a line that goes from Knoxville Foods. Maybe use a slightly darker shade, maybe that one. In fact, let's see if we can get a, let's just go for that, that's fine. Apply, there we go. And here, full load, no, load if available I think. And here you're picking up food, and you're coming from Knoxville Foods into the drop-off point in Knoxville, which is Central Street. So it's going a fair old distance, but that's fine. And this is food Knoxville. There we go. And now we can get some vehicles on here. They're not going to take anything for the first couple of journeys because, well, there's no food for them to take, but we can at least get the vehicles up and running and ready. So you're going to be using the, why have we got an Asian horse-drawn carriage with side stakes? I thought we had American vehicles only. Oh, not sure why that's happened, but never mind. Anyway, let's go ahead and let's get ourselves, let's go for 20 to start with. We can always add more or take them away if we've gone too high. And you're going on the food to Knoxville line. And like I said, initially you're not going to have anything to take with you, so there's going to be a couple of journeys where you're running empty, but that shouldn't be too much of a problem. And I think that's a decent point to end it for today, and we have a train just departing Knoxville on the way to Haywood, so we've got a perfect train for a cab ride, and look at that, 32 or 32 already, which is great to see. So here we are heading now out towards Haywood. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. As always, your comments, feedback and suggestions are more than welcome, and I encourage you all to head over to the Discord server. Link is in the description of the video just down below, where it's a bit more conducive for a full and open dialogue for your ideas and suggestions, and a great way to obviously interact with other members of the community as well. And I think I might even start having early release for some of the videos on Discord, maybe a day in advance, but that obviously depends on my recording and upload schedule. But for now, all that remains for me to say is, as always, ladies and gentlemen, take very good care of yourselves. It's ta-ta for now.